Our second speaker today, Steve Norgard. He's the MD of Widgie Nickel. Steve's had a successful track record here in the development of base and precious metal mining projects, including nickel projects encompassing early exploration stage through to ensuring sustained and commercial production. He's an experienced resource industry executive and mining engineer with well over 25 years of experience, including stints as an MD with Red 5 and Tectonic Resources. Also Director of Operations with Westgold Resources and COO of TSX Trelawi Mining and Exploration. Steve most recently led Minterra, with specialised underground mining division of ASX-listed Westgold. He's also a member of the Australian Institute of Mining and Met. Please welcome Steve.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to come along and present the Widgie Nickel story. I'll start with a disclaimer. A little bit about Widgie Nickel. We celebrated our first birthday only a week ago. It's been a very, very exciting 12 months. A company that's born out of Neo Metals. We raised $24 million and we've been busily spending that money drilling holes in our namesake project, the Mount Edwards Nickel Project, which I'll talk to you in some detail today about. The ingredients of a successful mining company or any company, you have to have a lot of head starts to make big ventures happen. Widgie Nickel's no exception to that. Our location is probably one of our really, really strong attributes. We're located proximal to Highway 1 that joins Western Australia to the east coast of Australia. We've got mains, freshwater pipeline running adjacent to our project area. We've got power lines. We've got natural gas, so we've got a lot of infrastructure that's already embedded in and around the project, which gives us a significant head start. Not to mention, very, very importantly, that a nickel concentrator that's hungry for feed is in very, very close proximity to the project. We've got a very, very experienced team of people that we've amassed over the last 12 months, and I'll pay special tribute to Don Huntley, our exploration manager. He's been instrumental in some of the exploration success that I'll explain to you today. Timing's very important. The nickel market's very volatile, and since 2008, when it last peaked, we've had a period of suppressed nickel prices, and I certainly look forward to a sustained higher nickel price in the foreseeable future. Widgie Nickel's ideally placed to harness that, and we intend to get ourselves into production or be production ready in 2023 to capture that upswing in the nickel price. For all new projects, there's obviously inherent, sometimes questions are asked about metallurgy and such like. We're very, very important that our project has a production history, a very, very successful production history, and has produced over 30,000 tonnes of contained nickel. All very, very important attributes. The actual project itself, we've got a global resource of just under 170,000 tonnes of contained nickel that's spread over 12 separate resources. They're all in very, very close proximity to each other. As a result, I see that as one of the really important attributes of the project. It's readily scalable. We've got the capacity of upping our output once we get into production, which is readily achievable for us. Each of these resources, other than one, has got the capacity to grow in size. They're all drill constrained. So the 170,000 tonnes of contained nickel that we've got identified in the ground now is just a snapshot in time. We'll be able to extend that purely with more drilling, which will occur in course. It's not just a nickel project. We've identified byproducts in the form of platinum, palladium and cobalt, which has not been previously recognised in terms of any credit, and it hasn't been identified. Our drill hole data set is devoid of, other than 10% of the data set, is devoid of assays for these very, very important commodities, which, in light of the very, very high prices achieved for cobalt and platinum and palladium, are significant byproducts that we will, through the process of infill drilling each of these resources, be able to identify and hopefully be able to attribute value to. And I think it'd be remiss of me to say that it's not just a nickel story. We've recently identified lithium potential on our project, so I'll talk a little bit about that in a future slide. Widgie Nickel's humble in its aspirations. We are very, very focused on getting ourselves production ready by 2023, and we want to do that on a low capex basis. So the focus in the short term for us as a principal outcome is to get one of the resources that we've got into a position where we can commence mining. And that's involved from on-the-ground work in drilling to get the level of geological confidence in that resource up to a much higher level, metallurgical test work to determine what sort of attributes the concentrate has, recasting that resource, so rather than having a component in inferred, it's all in indicated, and progressing that through to demonstrate the underlying feasibility of that project. It's a fundamental for us. In the medium term, whilst we're doing all of that work, we've got a program of drilling that's carrying on an ongoing basis. We've identified six of our resources that we intend to get into a high level of geological confidence in the first 2 years. And we believe that that will allow us, in the longer term, to look at a standalone operation. Our initial focus is a low capex option where we sell ore to BHP, our neighbour. In looking in that longer term, it's not necessarily limited to just making a concentrate. We'll look at all the various options in terms of downstream processing to make battery precursors. And we do that with the knowledge that we've got sufficient size and scope to hopefully be able to undertake that. But that's for the future. The endowment. These 12 resources, as you can see, a significant portion of them are inferred, and it's for that reason the $24 million has been raised, because we've got a lot of drilling to do, and that work will remain ongoing for a long period of time. I talked about the readily scalable aspect. If you look at the image on the right-hand side, you'll see that those 12 resources are essentially crunched into a 15-kilometre north-south window. So the opportunity of achieving economies of scale is very, very evident for us. And indeed, the exploration upside associated with our tenure, some 240 square k's, is readily evident. I'll talk a little bit about that on a subsequent slide. But firstly, Armstrong, which is the first cab off the rank, which will get us into the ranks of production. We've spent money drilling that. We're doing metallurgical test work now. We'll recast that resource. An announcement on that is imminent. We also have an announcement on a scoping study which will come out hopefully in the next week or so, which will demonstrate the underlying viability of that project, sufficient in nature to warrant launching into a full feasibility study. One of the important aspects of the full feasibility study is being able to ensure that we've got a counterparty that can treat our ore. So one of the key outcomes of the metallurgical test work is to negotiate an ore tolling agreement with BHP, hopefully in the not too far distant future. The outcome of that, which we foresee as being a process that's going to take 3 to 6 months, will allow us to complete a full feasibility study and achieve the necessary permitting in the first half of next year, allowing us to be in a position where prior to the end of next year we'll be ready to commence production. And the fundamental reason for doing that is so we can become a self-funding entity and continue our development of the project. I had contemplated a whole heap of KPIs on this slide illustrating the veracity of the Armstrong project. However, time has beaten us. So I've chosen to explained that we've used Entech as one of the key mining consultants. They've had significant experience in the Kambalda and the Widgie Dome. They've done the necessary design work, mine cut-off grades and the underlying feasibility study. We've engaged Wood as our metallurgical consultant, overseeing the test work program and doing all the necessary research in terms of payabilities and such like. MBS Environmental is a very, very important partner. We are on the cusp of receiving approval to dewater the Armstrong open pit, which you see there. We've got about 170,000 cubic metres of water, which we need to remove in order to be able to expose a portal position, which is a very, very important aspect to the project in terms of how we actually make that transition from entering the underground mine. And Mine Geotech is our geotechnical consultant overseeing that work. We've got the benefit of a resource statement that's already been publicised by our predecessor in Neo Metals, which was constructed by Aurelia and has had a peer review process undertaken by Snowden Optiro. Very, very important. The aim is for a low capex, very, very simple mining operation. Nothing fancy, cheap, cost effective, fit for purpose. It'll probably be of the order of about a 3-year duration, but again, it'll get us self-funding. Exploration success, and we've had a significant amount of this. Our Widgie South area, immediately south of the Widgie Tavern, is an area of intense activity for the organisation. This will be our second mining operation, I believe. However, we've got a lot of work to do and we'll continue maintaining our exploration effort. What makes this area very, very exciting is between the three resources at Gillett, Widgie 3 and Widgie Town site, we've got 70,000 tonnes of contained nickel metal, and some of the exploration success we've had of late associated with the Gillett North area of this project has got the potential to add significant nickel tonnes to the project. Gillett North is very, very important for this project just by virtue of the geometry. If you consider on this image Widgie 3 as the access and the conduit to the underground mine, having continuous mineralisation some potentially 1.7 kilometres to the north, which will link us up with the Widgie Town site resource, is going to have a profound impact to the overall economics of this project. So work remains on foot at 1 million miles an hour on this particular project. Looking at the Gillett resource in particular, very unique in the sense that it was discovered in 2008. All of our other resources had a surface expression. However, Gillett hasn't got that. It was a greenfields discovery made by Consolidated Minerals. They've identified the mineralisation over an 850 metre strike. Our first ever exploration hole as a company, we stepped out some 350 metres further to the north and we pinned it. Sensational result, 3 really, really good intercepts, all very, very high grade, much higher than the overall resource grade. That augurs well. We're in a process now of infilling the 350 metres from the existing resource to this discovery hole, and ultimately this will become part of a much bigger Gillett system. Then we'll venture further to the north towards Widgie Town site. But it takes 30 kilos of nickel for a battery and a Tesla. It also takes 6 kilos of lithium. There is a higher probability of lithium on our tenements, and we've now indeed proven that hypothesis, and we released only earlier this week outcomes of an initial reconnaissance program picking up rock chips from a spodumene outcrop. Very, very exciting for the company. It's early days, over a 600 metre strike length, with widths of up to 25 metres. We've picked up rock chips of up to 3.7% lithium oxide. We're super excited about the potential of this, and we'll be getting a drill rig on the ground in the not too far distant future. it opens up a complete new avenue to the company, and we'll pursue this with vigour, and it's going to be complementary to our nickel exploration effort. So the highlights, I think from a company perspective, we're very, very fortunate that our 240 square k's of tenure hosts obviously a vast nickel resource. It's got lithium prospectivity, it's in a great location, tier 1 mining jurisdiction, excellent infrastructure to back us up. We've got a great team of people on the ground, and that will grow in the not too far distant future. Latent value in the resource base with the potential for byproduct credits. It's an exciting time for the organisation, and I can see an immense amount of inherent value growing in the company as we progress along the production pathway. Finish on, we've probably all fallen asleep, so we'll finish with a corporate summary in terms of a broad range of skill at board level, covering all of the earth sciences and a commercial background. Our share price has probably tracked a little bit of it's probably very similar to many others. We're sitting still above our issue price, and with ample upside, which we believe will be unlocked as we progress further down the production pathway. So with that, I will finish and say our ASX ticker code, if you haven't noticed, is WIN, WIN. So if you get on board, you will win with Widgie. Thank you very much.